Good evening, everyone. Let me know if I'm audible. Hello, hello, hello. Am I audible, guys? Okay, great, great, great. Good evening, everyone. Okay, so we have some old student as well. So notice कि jobs कितना DSA चाहिए होता है. Mukul, like DSA is not something like which help to assess Node.js, right? DSA, if someone is asking for DSA, they just want to know the problem solving skill that you have, right? So if someone want to judge that, so I think up to intermediate level of DSA you should know that, right? Like up to hash maps, priority queue, a bit of trees, and you should be able to like solve intermediate problems of array strings, right? So that is, I think, that what they are expecting from you. If you're good with that, you're good to go with Node.js. Okay, let's start with today's lecture. Just give me a second. Okay, great. Node.js में DS लगेगा नहीं. That Mukul was asking कि maybe there might be few companies जो DSA पूछ रही होगी in the coding interviews, right? So that's what I'm giving the answer that DSA is not the basis to judge for a Node.js developer, right? DSA अगर कोई पूछ रहा है, they just simply want to know your problem solving skills. तो अगर तुम्हें problem solving skills assess करना है, if someone want to assess that, then intermediate DSA, if you know that, that is fine. But there would be a lot of company who wants a web developer, and they are just completely taking you just on the basis of the work that you have done, right? And don't slow down your pace. I will ask those like previous students that I have, like Mukul, Harsh, and all who are in the lecture, I guess. So, what you guys should do now, you can like start building for merge stack projects because you know Node.js, right? And start building merge.js, like complete merge stack projects that you can add into your resume, that you can deploy, and then you can showcase that, right? So it would help you a lot. So right now you have been just learning both of them, but separately. Start building your projects, a big project, so that you get some confidence over there, right? And side by side, you can like be in touch with a bit of a DSA, because let's say if 10 companies are coming and like you are eligible for 6, right? But 4 are asking for DSA. Why to cut short our opportunity, or let's say why to short the percentage of opportunity that you are getting, right? So just be in touch with DSA, normal problem solving skills, easy DSA, intermediate, that would be good. But if you want to become a pro developer, then build good development project that you can showcase, and then you can talk about that. Because if you are clearing this coding round now, coding round clear हो जाता है on the basis of DSA, right? But you do not have nothing to showcase in the interview. So on what thing you're going to talk about is what you have included in your resume. So you should have good project, good functionalities of merge stack projects, and then that you can show that, okay, I've been working on this end-to-end product on end-to-end features, right? So that is important. So that will automatically like increase the number of opportunities for you guys, and this will be the same for you guys who have like joined newly. So let's say in, I will say that when we will end our to do app now, so that would be the point where you know the basics, basic to intermediate level of Node.js, right? So this would be more than sufficient for you to start with anything. At that point, you are familiar with Node.js, you will be familiar with MongoDB, you will be familiar with Express and everything, routing, APIs, everything, right? And you would be implementing good end-to-end features. So from there, you can also start like if you have some extra time, you can dedicate that for learning vast concepts and like building few projects that could help you, right? So these lectures are of 3 hours only, right? And there are 24 hours in a particular day. So if you are like dropout, if you're just searching for a job, then you can give some extra hours to these things, right? Okay, so till yet you can like completely depend yourself on this particular lectures until we are not implementing the to do app. After that, it will give you the uh, what, Mahesh? No, we were just talking about the bit of interview and opportunities of DSA, Node.js, and that's all. I was just talking ki, Mahesh, you are new to this Node.js class, or you were my previous student? Okay, so yeah, are you guys know Node.js right now? So start building merge stack project, complete merge stack project. That was I was asking to the students, right? That would give you more confidence and good things for your resume. Okay, so let's start today's lecture. So basically, today is the lecture number 3, and today we're gonna cover basically the npm and what is npm and what is express.js, and we will gonna see the demo of it. We will see the demo of all the APIs that we have studied yesterday, right? So no worries. So let's say the first key thing that we're gonna cover is intro to npm, right? The second thing will be we will have a look at package.json file and node modules, you can say, right? What is node modules? Then we're gonna see what is Express server, why we are using this, right? Why to use, what are like key features of this, all the things we're gonna look into that. So you can include a intro of that Express here, right? And then normal advantages of Express.js so that we can distinguish why we are using Express, right? And then the normal working on the demo. So this will be the main agenda, working on demo. So basically, we want to implement all of the things that we have yesterday, tomorrow, and today, right? So these are the things, the agenda for today. Okay, just a second. Okay. So, and for first of all, before starting for this, like, do you have any doubt with respect to the previous lecture that we have given, like the yesterday thing, like all the APIs, web APIs, and all of the stuff? Do you guys have any issues with that? Please let me know. किसी को उसमें लाइक कल वाले पार्ट में किसी को दिक्कत है, वेब एपीआईज, रेस्ट एपीआईज, द कंपैरिजन पार्ट एंड एनीथिंग लाइक एनी किसी भी चीज में? एंड द अदर वाज वर लाइक रेस्ट में कितने तरीके के क्रेड ऑपरेशंस एंड ऑल, गेट पोस्ट, कुछ issue. And just tell me one more thing, that how many of you who are present inside this meet, you guys are also there on the WhatsApp group? सब हो WhatsApp ग्रुप पे? लेट मी नो, जिस पे भी मैंने टेक्स्ट ड्रॉप किया था टू ज्वाइन द सेशन. इफ देर इज देयर एनी वन दैट जो नहीं है, Okay, let me ask for the new students. Lenson, are you there, Lenson? Okay. Okay, because I think we are not having a Discord group as of now, so whatever. Okay, just a second. Okay, uh, just give me a second. Uh, Ritik is asking me to drop a link. So this particular place where I have just dropped a message. So on this particular place only, on the WhatsApp group, I will be sharing all the resources. So what I'm gonna do is simply create a GitHub link for you guys, and lecture by lecture, we're gonna see what are the things that we have, right? So just a second. Yeah, I have dropped a link. Few students are facing some issues with that, right? सो गेटहब बनाएंगे और उसमें वट एवर द लाइक आई हैव स्टोर डोंट वरीज देखो यहाँ पे जो लेक्चर 2 था लेक्चर 3 था हमारे पास मैंने सबका ट्रैक रखा हुआ है एंड आई विल शेयर दैट पर्टिकुलर नोट्स विद यू गाइज और जो गिटहब पे लिंक होगा और जो फर्दर रिसोर्सेज दैट आई एम फॉलोइंग आई विल प्रोवाइड यू गाइज फॉर द रीडिंग पर्पस एंड एवरीथिंग राइट ओके सो लेट्स जस्ट स्टार्ट. Okay, so basically, what is an node package manager? So can anyone answer me what is npm node package manager? Anyone of you know this? Can answer me if you know. Anyone of you? Let me share a resource with you guys. Yeah, so this is one of the documentation that you can like follow for npm. So as it is like it is not a big thing to remember. Normally you can think as an npm is a open source tool. Basically it is a place where all the pre-written libraries are present in javascript that you can use, because every time it is not possible for someone to like create everything from the scratch, right? So node modules will be the place where all of the pre-written code will be there, right? And there will be the packages that you can install, uninstall, right? But with whom you're gonna handle that? You can handle that with our npm package managers, basically with this package manager. So it is the world largest software library as of now, and npm is also the software ये installer भी है and the package manager भी है. So these are the two things. So you can see that npm is the world largest and it contains over 8 lakhs of code packages, right? It is open source, so many organization, even if they are private limited companies, they are using npm. And the software developers there who are working as a full time, they also tends to contribute to this open source, because it is important for the new developers to like learn to code and basically to make the coding environment more faster, right? And one more thing, that how this package manager help us to like develop things and all. Just give me a second. Yeah, so you can see this is a kind of a package manager where you can keep the track of the things that you have installed. Basically, let's say there could be a lot of version of your software could be there, right? So you can provide different version names, different GitHub repositories, right? And then if you have some kind of a licensing and all, but along with that, it also have dependencies, right? So node modules have all the pre-written codes in the JavaScript. If you yesterday also, if I just open yesterday package, let's create new one, Visual Studio Code. I think it was of yesterday. So, okay, I'll show you here only. So this is a package.json file and this is node modules, right? So if you go into this node modules, already some pre-written codes are there, right? Flattening an array, bytes, debugging. So this is the thing that you can like you do not have to install, you can directly use like parse URL, right? So these are the things you might have heard about. Even the file systems are also present here, so you don't have to install those things. But if you're installing something from an external tool, right, so we can install Express. Is not something which is pre-written here in the node module, so you have to install Express uh like separately. So we did that yesterday. So how we gonna like keep the track, because node modules, when your project become very large, this is helping you in your coding environment, right? But someone else, like there could be multiple developers. Just a second. Let's say there is an GitHub repository, right? This is my repo. Just a second, someone is unmute. Okay, so like let's say this is my repository. I am a software developer one, let's say S1. Then there could be S2 and S3 simultaneously, right? So they have their own coding environment. But let's say this person was like, this was my repository, three of them were new, so they fetch the repository, like they clone the repository, they install whatever the dependency which was present here, and they start coding, right? But later on S2 goes very far beyond, like it added multiple functionalities and then push the code. Now in order to these two person to have, because let's say he added five functionalities, so for five functionality he added 15 packages. He added 15 packages, or you can say 15 external tool. One is like, let's say Express, one is Mongoose, another kind of like all the kind of packages that these functionality required, he added that. But right now these two persons does not have. So here in the node modules I have this S2 have installed his particular node modules, like whatever these 15 packages, additional 15 packages, it is present in these modules, and that is specifically for the S2. But for this person S1 and S2, that S2 is not gonna like push his node modules here, right? यहाँ पे node modules हम push नहीं करते हैं, if you guys know. Node modules को हमेशा git ignore file में डाल देते हैं, and node modules is not gonna push. Now if I fetch the code and I try to run this particular application that has been built by S2, my application is gonna crash because I do not have the same coding environment as of S2. Why? I might be using some functionality which are fetching from my node modules, but those packages are not present there. Simply, this is the simple explanation. So instead of sending the node modules, because this node modules are very heavy, for every time if you are like pushing your code or pulling your code, every time the node modules become very heavy, so you cannot do that. So for that purpose we try to like create a particular file where we keep the track of packages that we have utilized. So basically we are just going to keep the track of uh, this node module, this coding environment, and we call that file as package.json, right? Package.json. So this is the file which is responsible for my coding environment, and whatever the changes that I have made, that will be reflected in my package.json, and I will just push this particular code to the new repository, and the other person will fetch that package.json file. Now when I need, because in my package.json these new packages will be present, but in my node module, so let's say this was the S1 person, right? So he has his node modules, let's say nm node modules, and he has his package.json file, right? JSON. So when once he fetch the code, his package.json is going to like update, but node modules are not going to update because node modules are not present here. Node modules were only here, so only this particular file has been updated. So let me show you guys one thing. In a package.json, this is just keeping the track of my coding environment, like the name of the product that I've been working on, what is the version of it, if there any description is there, we have the app.js is the file name, right? Then there is a script. What the script tell us about is the script is basically nothing, just tells us how you want to run your or build your whole package, or you can say whole app, right? This is my server. It contains all of the things. So here I can mention how I want to run that, right? So if normally I just want to run with the help of Node.js right now, so I will write node.app.js, node dot the main function file name, right? Because in this particular root here, I have done the npm init, right? So npm init have utilized what it particularly done कि इस particular root पे हमारा node module present है, right? My node is accessible at this particular root, so I can use the node command here. So with the help of node command, if I just simply write node app.js, so I'm gonna run this particular package, right? But let's say I just want to change this thing, or let's say there is another package which comes with the name of a nodemon. ठीक है, nodemon क्या करता है? So let's say this right now I'm running this package, ठीक है? So if you go inside my app.js, if I do any changes, let's say I'm making any changes, and if I save this, it is not gonna reflect here. My server does not restart, right? So in order to, let's say in 8000 here I'm putting more t's, right? If I save this, it is not going to reflect here. It was as previous only. So if I want to see my changes, I have to stop my server and then I have to run again, right? So now you can see the port with a lot of t's. So every time you are making a changes, you have to stop your server and then restart it so that you will be able to see. But this is not how ease of development look like, because if you're making any changes, you have to first stop and then restart server again and again. So it becomes a tedious task. So there is another package which comes along with that, which we call that as nodemon, right? So what nodemons do, so we're gonna just change our start script, right? Just let's do that. Okay, I'll wait. I'll first cover this node modules, npm and everything. Then I'll show you what nodemons do. So nodemon, with the help of nodemon, what you can do is change your how you were starting your script, right? So you can provide anything. Let's say if you're running your particular demo in development, there is two kind of environment. One is development, other is production. So if you are developing in your local host, that means development environment. And if you're running that particular files in the production, that means prod, right? So you can have different command for different things, right? So if you want to run everything on development, you can have a different command. For production, you can have different command, and you can distinguish between them like this. Ki dev, for dev it will be you can write something. For dev you can have one thing. For prod you can have another thing, right? So if you're running, now the script is going to be changed according to what you need. You can do that. So that is how the script is going to look like. And there could be a lot of things. Let's say in this particular file you have your backend as well as your front end. Let's say React is on front end and backend is on node modules. So you want to run both of the files but with the same command. So that is also you can do. So you can play along with these scripts, right? We will see more into the future, don't worry. And here the main part comes, which is dependency that we were talking about. That dependency is something that keep the track of what package that I'm using and with what version. So right now, you guys know I have installed Express yesterday with a version of this particular file's name. This is the version of my Express. So if another person want this package, I'm going to push this code to my GitHub. They can fetch it. Node modules not gonna like upload, and neither the person was able to fetch it, but they will have my this. Now if you want the same coding environment, if the other person want to have the same coding environment, what he or she is gonna do, they will just write, this S person will write just npm I, or you can say install. So what this gonna do, so if my package.json has updated with few more packages that S2 was included, S2 was working along. So now this particular npm install, what it gonna do, it will go to your package.json file and see if there is no new packages or not. If there are, so they're gonna install it and store that into your node module. So that is how like a lot of developers contribute to one project with the same coding environment with the help of this file. If someone is working on something, if they install those packages, So it will be mentioned here. It will be there in your node modules as well. But if you push that code, node modules is not going. Only the package.json file is going. Other person will fetch that. So they have a script of your coding environment. But if they want to utilize the same, they have to run a command of npmi. So that what it does, it will reinitialize everything and install all the packages which are mentioned here. So let's say I'm installing one more package, npm I, let's say nodemon. Okay. So here it is installing. You will be able to see the changes here, right? Just a second. Where we have installed it. Gen lecture 1 ही तो है ये. Just a second, let me see. कुछ issue है. ओके, चेंजेस हो गए. कंपेयर और ओवरराइट करने के लिए कह रहा है. सो कंपेयर कर लेते पहले. सो ये नया चेंज आया था. इट शुड नॉट बी समथिंग लाइक दिस. ऐसे नहीं होता, वो डायरेक्टली इंस्टॉल हो जाता है. बट मैंने फाइल सेव नहीं कर रखी थी, इसलिए इशू हो गया. सो देखो, नोडमोन आ गया है नई फाइल में. दे आर सेइंग प्रीवियस में नहीं है. तो मैं बस इसको रिजॉल्व कर दूंगा. एक सेकंड और फिर से एक बार इंस्टॉल कर लेते हैं. सो नाउ यू कैन सी my file was not saved. I have saved that and then I have installed nodemon. So now my nodemon is present. But if I just, let's say, remove this, okay, so in my node modules, nodemon is present, but here inside my package.json, node modules are not present. So now if I just write npm I, so what gonna happen is it will think that nodemon was not there inside your script. So it is going to remove that. It is going to update your node modules and it will only have the express but remove the nodemon, right? So this is how it works. Basically, it install all the packages, reinitialize everything from here. But there's another way of doing that. You can use npm uninstall command for nodemon, right? So let's control Z. And you can use npm uninstall nodemon, so it will uninstall this particular thing. So here also you have the package name with the version name, that this particular arrow means this version and upper version, right? So this is what it means. Okay, so we have talked about just a second. We have talked about package.json file, node modules, right? And don't forget ever what are the commands to run this. I know you guys know, but still I'm going through with that. So these are the command that if you want to first initialize your npm को initialize करना है, so you can run a command. ये command line interface में ये present होता है, so you can write npm init, right? Or you can write npm init -y. So these are the two things. Now with the help of this, you will have a package.json file. A package.json file will come, right? Because you are initializing. So with that, you will have a package.json file. But after that, let's say this is my first command. Then you will have this file, right? And the second thing that you can do is install one of the packages. So let's do npm I of express. If you do this thing, so what will happen? You can install any package. So what this particular thing will do, or you will write npm I. So then it will brings node modules to you. Brings node module. So basically this command will brings node module, right? So this is how it works. So this is the work of node package manager. npm is dealing with the coding environment, right? And where we were keeping the track of that in package.json file, the sources, the packages that we are installing, they are going in a node modules. They are going inside the node modules, right? So this is the particular flow of working. And always remember, npm is open source. Just a second, is open source, right? So you have to remember this. So anyone have any issue with this? And open, to be of open source, like it's a big deal that a package, a tool which is open source and that much famous. Can anyone of you name any open source packages that commonly used by everyone, or open source tools? Anyone of you know anything? Mozilla, yes, correct. Mozilla is open source. Uh, is GitHub is open source? React is a open source framework, but React has been developed by Facebook. Similarly, GitHub is something. एक second. GitHub is owned by whom? Anyone of you have any idea? GitHub को कौन own करता है? Yeah, GitHub is owned by Microsoft. Yeah, so actually में what happens is GitHub का एक version is free for all the developers across the world, but then कुछ privacy के लिए एक GitHub corp आता है, corp.github, right? And that is paid. So there you cannot see all the private firms. If you are registering yourself on the GitHub as a firm, then you are not you cannot use GitHub. It is for a single person. Then you have to use corp.github and it is paid. But there your files, your project won't be available to other people's. And Mozilla is one of the example, right? Mozilla, VLC, VLC media player. Do you guys know this is also open source? So there are some open source that are doing a lot of good work. Red Hat is open source. Uh, a lot of tools, Python libraries are open source. So they are building a lot of things around there. I think Tensor, which is responsible for everything, MySQL is open source, correct? So they help a lot of people to like basically community is there, so community helps the developer to grow, right? Okay, so I think this part should be clear to you guys. And don't forget about this flow, right? Don't forget why we use, why the package versions are mentioned, right? To have the same coding environment. What this particular thing is, why package dot, okay, package.log.json file is nothing. It just keep the track that whenever you are doing npmi or everything, it just keep the track of on which particular like versions you were, right? So versions show करता है इस पे that when you did something. So it is not a necessary file because अभी तक देखो we have not developed anything. We have just written these 4 line of code along with just 2 packages, and this is our package.json file. So you don't have to like keep the track of anything. If you just delete this file and do npmi again, this file will regenerate. But there will be some time when your error will be thrown by this particular package.json file when you're working as a developer, like contributor in a team or a project, because they will have a different package.json file, you will have a different. So simply do what, if there is a conflict, delete this file and reinstall it, so it won't give you a lot of hectic, right? As you can see, Express is present here in node modules. I think node mon should also be there with n. So whatever you install will be present here if it is an extra package. So let's go to the Express package. So all the routes, all the way they write the code in which you can utilize, everything is present here inside these files, right? So if you want to look the internal working of things, you can go, but I will not suggest it, right? Because we're going to see how we can use Express. The next thing that we're going to look into is Express, right? What is Express? So anyone of you have any idea कि Express होता क्या है? किसी को आइडिया है? Correct. It's a framework. Just a second. Framework to Node.js, right? So why we need a framework? Can anyone answer me? Like the previous student, if you guys are present here, like we can, Node is itself a server. It is, we can write Node server like vanilla Node.js, right? So why we need a framework for that? Less code and ease work. Yeah, that's all. There are few other functionality which Express.js provide to us that other servers other framework servers are not doing, right? So what you can think of, let's say this is my Node.js, right? And then there is a wrapper to it. There is a wrapper to it, and this is your Express JS. Now, what this particular thing is doing, let's say there will be one functionality of Node.js, but it is a quite difficult framework. You can think of a wrapper. You can think that as a wrapper. Basically, framework means that, okay, there are a lot of functionality in this particular language or in this framework, but you want another thing along with that. Okay, so for Node.js here, the Express do what? Along with Node.js, it brings router also, right? So router into the picture. Let's think of another example. React is there, right? React is a framework, but there is another wrapper, which is Next.js. Next.js. So Next.js is a framework for React. React is a framework of what? React framework hota hai. It just ES6, if you guys know, embed HTML with JavaScript, right? So ES6 ke liye, what it does internally, it is just using HTML and JavaScript, right? And then it combines everything together. Now they are just providing you a ease to code. You do not have write everything from the scratch, like every component of this particular ES6 format of embedding JavaScript into an HTML. You don't have to do that thing again and again. If you want to utilize few functionality of, let's say, JavaScript, that can be done in more simpler words, in more simpler fashion. Then they call it as React. So what they do, they write a piece of code, let's say in the React, here in the package.json, in this node modules here in the Express, you see this index file. So it is running what? Lib may, let's see these. So there will be a lot of function that you are using, right? So they have written every code of that, what it internally do. So you don't have to like put your focus of how the things internally working. You will just call that function and then provide the argument to that, and internally it will do that. So they have written a wrapper for Node.js with their coding style, and we are just using their functionalities. That's all what framework means, right? So similarly, Next.js, what it does, it brings React, it brings API, it brings other libraries. There are other libraries also together, and it makes React is nothing just a library to Next.js, right? And there are other more functionalities, APIs and other libraries. And Next.js, what it does, it bring everything together, and then we call that framework as Next.js. So now let's say there was only HTML and JavaScript, then it break down into React, like React come into a picture, and now to use React with other libraries, another framework has been developed, and we can use this thing. So now at the same place, with React functionality, you can use APIs functionalities, you can use other libraries at the same place, right? So now let's say from here to here, you have to combine two functionalities. So every time you don't have to write from the scratch, you can use the functionality of Next.js that they have written internally. So that is what frameworks mean. Similarly here in the Express, Node.js, you can create Node.js server, but every time when you will create, there will be difficulty in handling the routes, right? So what Express does, it brings controller into pictures, routing system into pictures. The MVC method that we learn now, that is possible because of Express. So we will see that. So just whenever you want to just remember, so you just remember that Express is a framework to the Node.js. That's all. So with the help of this, you can create web and mobile applications. कोई issue नहीं है, iOS Android हो, you can create anything, and which are single page, right? It can be like you can think of this कि it is used to create single page or multiple web pages or multiple web pages, even the hybrid application or hybrid application. So if you want to create a single page application, multiple page web application, or a hybrid web application, you can use Express easily for that. There will be no issues. Okay. So the another thing that you can like remember for Express is it has a layer which is built on Express to manage the servers and routes. So there will be one file. So just give me a second. Yes, yes, yes. So let's say there will be one file for server. As of now, we have app.js file. So that is a server file. But along with that, you can like initially with Node.js, you were writing all the routes here. These routes. What I mean by route is just a second. These are my routes, right? These are my routes. You can also know this like this part is controller, right? This part is method and this is the endpoint. So everything, if you want to write in vanilla Node.js, so you have to write everything here. All the routes will be here. But there will be another way. Let's say my project is very big. I cannot write everything like thousand of routes here. I cannot do that. So I need a differentiation of things like a different way I can handle routes. So you can create a different file for routes. So all the endpoint requests which will come to here, you can divert that to this particular file. So this is what we can do with the help of an Express. This is one of the important things. So you can think it is a layer which is built on, which is built on Express to manage servers and route, right? So we can differentiate things. Now, let's say I'm creating route 1.js file. So this could be my one page for routes. I can create another pages for route. So now I can have differentiation of routes. So let's say this route 1 is just dealing with user. Route 2 is dealing with products, right? Route 3 is dealing with route JS3 just dealing with orders, right? So all the functionality, like all the functionality that you are breaking in more atomic layer, that would be easier for other person to debug, to develop, and to add more functionality to that. So we can like initially all the routes will be here, right? All the routes should be here, but now you can divert them to different pages. So here all the main server things are working, but the route parts are segregated, so they are going to different pages. Now even you can create multiple pages for routes. So now all the now you are creating a segregation of things, right? So you can manage things well. So you can create multiple pages, all the routes, all the user, let's say slash user, all the requests which is coming to this API endpoint, you can divert that to this particular routes. You will just write this router 1. Okay. If there is, let's say, orders, then you can divert with router 2, right? So this is the functionality of Express which bring to us. Handling the routes become very important, very easy here, and that is the main purpose, because everything that you're writing on the server side, that is a logic, that is a business logic, and you want to execute that on a particular point when the user on the client side is interacting with that. So a API will hit that. You need to have a segregation between things so that you can develop a more bigger projects, and which will become easy for you guys to debug, to manage, and other persons to read, to contribute, right? So yeah, just a second, let me see. Okay, if someone in easy terms, if someone asks you that why we are like why only Express.js, so why Express.js, so you can give these answers like learning curve is low, learning curve is low because it has been built on JavaScript. ये JavaScript पे build है. It is not using any other language. So most of the front end developers, and JavaScript is one of the loose like object oriented program. It is a loose object oriented programming. So it is easy. C++ and Java have very hard rules. Very hard rules that you cannot validate those things. Python and JavaScript is something on a easier side. Express is that layer. is built on, did I write something wrong? You can, routes are the layers which are built on Express, which help us to like differentiate between the routers, between the servers and the routes, right? So these router that I have mentioned here, no, routers. So there is a layer on the Express which help us to differentiate between these two things, like the servers and the routes. Routes are different, router is different, controller will be different. We will see more of the terminology when we develop things, right? Okay. So we were here that here the learning curve is low, right? It is built on JavaScript. JavaScript is something easy to learn, time efficient hai. Why? Because lot of contributors are contributing, so community is very good. Community is good, right? Yeah, less code is there, less code hai. So community is providing you pre-written libraries and that you can use, so that you have to write less code, right? Similarly with time efficient, you can say fast to develop, economical hai because open source hai, open source hai, and asynchronous hai, because asynchronous is something that is very important to us. And why this is asynchronous? Because we are using JavaScript, and JavaScript is something that has been used to build Node.js, and we want to carry out that functionality of single thread and asynchronous, like to avoid a non-blocking nature, right? So that will bring by Express to us. Okay, just a second. Okay, so should I work on this? Okay, let's do the last thing, then we will start working on the routing part and everything. So what are the features that Express.js bring us to the table? So let's read to that. Okay, just a second. Just give me a second. So you can say features of Express.js. So one of the thing that I have just explained you guys is routing. Okay, so routing is something that refers to all the endpoint which is coming to you, and according to that we have to respond, right? So any requests that you can see here in the code, that these are the endpoints, all the requests that we are getting, we are handling them accordingly on a server side. So this is what routing means. We have route an endpoint with a controller. This is what an endpoint, this is what a controller means. This, we are controlling it. So this part is controller. We can define another function. Let's say you can write a function and then you can call that particular thing here. So we have just mapped this particular endpoint with something. So that is what routing means. Okay. So this becomes easy with the Express.js. We can do that with Node.js, vanilla Node.js as well. But here the reading and the ease of writing become help us, right? So you can raise. It refers to how an applications endpoint, you can say, is controlled. Okay. The another functionality which comes to the table is, just a second, the another functionality is middleware. So the previous student should know what is middleware, right? Can anyone answer me? Even if the new students would like to answer something about middlewares, like by the term what you're getting. Anyone? Am I going too fast, guys? Am I going too fast? If anyone here feels that I'm explaining things very fast, please let me know. Okay, what about you guys? Prachi, Lenson, Shironi, Devansh. What do you guys feel? Just wait. We are ending this and then we will start with the practical. Okay. Because see, I know in initially now every time students say in the first two lecture, ki sir, show us the implementation part also. But I know one thing that when if I start coding everything now and you guys don't know the terminologies and everything, so it will have an impact. Let's just give like good amount of time with the theory part. Okay, so just with this, after ending this part, we start executing the all the routes that we have studied yesterday, all the CRUD operation we are going to perform. Okay, and we will initialize a new project today. Okay, we're going to not work on that particular thing so that you guys can see. Okay, so middleware, what is middleware? So this is one route, right? This is an endpoint. I have explained that this is the particular point that a client person is hitting this particular place, this particular URL, so that they want to invoke this function. And what we call this function, we call this function as controller, right? So just let me write this thing. So let's say I have a request app dot get, right? I have a endpoint, let's say slash login, and then I have a function. I'm calling a function and it is doing something and I'm ending that, right? So now what are these things? This is method, right? A get operation. This is endpoint, right? Endpoint. We have mapped this particular place to this function, right? This is the function. So what we call this as controller or router also, or you can say router. Okay. Now, when mapping is taking place and you're creating multiple routes, so you call as routing. You name that as routing. So this is a router or a controller, right? And this is, we have mapped these two things. So this is what routing means, right? And now middlewares. What are middlewares? So this is one of the function. Let's say one request from the client side come, right? It hit the server. This particular function invokes and it do something, read write operation on the database, anything, and it responded back. So this is one cycle. This is one cycle. So now we want to interrupt, we want to add a particular task in this particular cycle, right? So now we're gonna add a handler. What we call it as a handler, a middleware or a handler. So now what will happen is, before executing your controller or router, let's say this is my router. So router is a function. Just think this is this part. We call arrow function and then executing something, right? This is my router. But before that, you are implementing a particular task. So now what this task is, this is another function. So you can also think this is another function. So I want to, like, before executing this particular function, I want this task to implement. And once this task is going to be implemented, I will call next. So what this next will do, it is going to jump you from this task. When this task is going to complete, it will jump you from this to this place. Now the router will do all of the thing and then respond it back to the server. I'll repeat again. Just understand. Earlier, we were having a login system. A client will hit this particular place and we will execute a router or a controller, which is our function, a normal task. So this can do a read write operation inside a database, do anything, which is a business logic, and then respond it back to the server. So this is the router where you have request and response, right? So you get a request and you return a response. So you get a request and you return a response. But now I want something as a middleware. I want something, a particular task that I want to perform before this router executes. So now how you can do that? Just write the task name or the function name before that, execute that function. And once that function is gonna end, let's say this was my function, so it started from here, it ends here, so you have few lines of code, and after that you call just next. What this next means is a callback function. This is a callback function. You guys must know what is a callback in JavaScript. So what this will do, it will call the next function. So the next function is the router. So now router will execute its function and then respond it back. So think of a scenarios, think of a use case of that. So let's say this is my what you can say, gym page. This is a router which is handling my gym page, right? Or my transaction page, anything which is restricted, only the login user should have an access to it. So before directly responded back to the client with all the information, I should authenticate the person first. So I can write a function to check whether these request which is coming to me is authenticated or not, right? So you can write that kind of a task here, because authentication, that task, you will say ki sir, whatever we'll do in this particular function, we can copy that and write here. Yes, you can do that. You can add whatever the authentication is doing, the way you are doing an authentication, you can write the few line of code here, but that will be a repetition of code you are doing here at this particular route. For profile page, for let's say payment page, for module page, for everything you have to repeat that few line of code for authentication everywhere. So what we can do, instead of doing that, write a middleware function and then add here, and then every time that you are executing all the restricted data, whenever I say restricted data, what it means is those data that a person or a user should only know when they are authenticated, right? They only have that access when they are authenticated. So whenever I need to provide that, first check whether the person is authenticated or not, and then move to the next function. If it is not, then there is no need to execute this function, and you can directly return it from here. Directly return from here, reject the call, and then all done. So this is what the work of middleware. So middleware is also bring by Express.js into the picture, so that what is happening here, modularity of code is coming to a picture. What I mean, that this particular task will be somewhere in the middleware folders, and then we are executing the same task again and again at all the places. So let's say I need this task at 50 places, but I have written only one time. So what it means, I'm reducing the redundancy of the code, right? So that is why middleware also important, and that's why Express.js come into a picture. Okay, I hope I make sense and every one of you are able to understand this part. Anyone of you have any issues with middleware key? What is middleware? Right. Okay, great. Rest of you, especially the new student, please let me know. Good. Okay. Now, there are a few other things. Another things which comes into a picture is one thing is debugging. That with Express.js, debugging becomes very easy. So as just remember one thing, you are reducing the redundancy of the code by what? Increasing the modularity. So that means instead of writing everything inside one function, this was your one function, you have broke down every function into multiple functions, function one, function two, right? So at any point, if you get a error at any point, let's say on this particular line or this line or this line, but you have break down these things into multiple functions. So now your code has become modular. So now the debugging become easier. So the more, why we say that while we were learning the DSA, everyone was asking you na ki write modular codes. So if modularity is there, so debugging will become easy. So debugging will become easy. So this is how you can understand this concept, right? So here we can have a different routing page, we can have a different middleware page. So everything has been broke down into atomic level. So the debugging becomes easy, right? The To break down things and to reach to that atomic level becomes very easy with this type of framework, right? Another thing is templating. I will not go more into a depth of it. What it does is you can just like yesterday we remember, if you guys remember, if let's say a client send a request to a server, right, and we can respond it back with multiple ways, right? So you can send JSON, you can send XML, you can also send HTML, right? So now what you can do, this HTML or any jQuery, sorry, jQuery. So if these kind of things are there, so you can create a template of HTML also, right? So instead of writing, let's say we write this is res.send. This is how we return, right? This is by writing this thing we return. So instead here writing an HTML code, you can create a template of an HTML and then you can use again and again everywhere. That so you guys must have seen page 404, right? So that is a kind of an HTML template that on the server side they have used, and every time you are ending up with a wrong URL, hitting a wrong URL, they are returning you one HTML page with some CSS, right? So that is what it means. You can create some templates, right? So no need to go more into the depth of it. Just remember that you can create some HTML templates, right? We will do that, don't worry. So again I will repeat everything कि क्या क्या चीजें हमने करी है. So features, first of all Express पे ही देख लेते हैं. Express, what was Express? Nothing, just a framework for Node.js. And why we are using that? Someone has to say something. Okay, why we are using that? Easy to learn, time efficient, have fast, economical, asynchronous, like it brings asynchronous into a picture, right? So then coming to the features, always remember routing and middlewares are always important. If you are using routing and middlewares, that means you are breaking your code and bringing more modularity to it. If that is there, that means debugging become easier, right? So this is how you can remember things. So but routing and middlewares are important. So now I can like tell you one thing, that what MVC is. Just the last thing. So MVC is a structure, of your application, Okay, means how you are developing your application, it should follow a certain structure which is like universal or common to all other developers who are working with Express.js. So you should follow MVC structure. So it says model, view, and controller. So I think you don't know what views right now. Model is something that you can think of a schema, MongoDB schema, right? Or a template of how your database is going to look alike, right? So that is what model we call. Controller is basically what router means. So this is, you should have a different segregation of things. Model, view is something that we will see. Don't worry about the view. Okay, but model and controller should be there. What is model? Schema. Nothing, just a template to show how your database is going to look like. जैसे user है तो user पे क्या क्या चीजें होंगी? Name होगा, email होगा, password, phone number. These are the things that we should have inside our database, right? So you can create a schema of users inside model, right? So this is what it means. Okay, so yeah, that's all. Let's start working with the coding part now. Just give me a second. Let me create a new project. So what I can do is, what I can do is I can go to desktop and I should create a new folder with, let's say, Gen node. Okay, Gen node only. And then the thing that I have created yesterday was this, Gen lecture number 1. So I'm gonna put this here inside this particular Okay, I think I have opened this, so let's close this. So now what I'm going to do is here in Gen model, as you have Gen lecture number 1. So now I will create another folder, lecture number 2, and I will push this whole folder into the GitHub, right? So that folder wise you can see, lecture wise you can see the code. Okay, so let's create a new folder here. Gen, today's lecture number 3. Okay. So what we can do, open this in terminal. Write code dot and it will open you the VS code with this particular repository, right? So now we have this repository completely empty. We're going to initialize each and everything from the scratch that we have just learned. But now we will understand why we are doing that, right? So let's create a page, app.js. You can also name this as index.js, no issues. Okay, let's just do one thing, initialize the node right now. Because here, if you just write, if you try to write node, okay, just a second. Control C, sorry, npm, right? Yeah, so npm is not initialized here, right? So in order to initialize npm, what you have to do, write npm init -y. If you're not writing -y, then you can enter everything specifically if you want to some give name or anything. But if not, you can do just npm init -y. And what it will do, it will create a package.json file for you, right? Here we do not have any dependency. So let's have a dependency. Let's say npm Express. Yeah, Express. So you will see another object with a key value of dependency, and inside that we will have our Express. And again, node modules are also installed, and inside node module you will have this Express so that we can utilize this thing, right? Just a second. Yeah, so what we can do, let's first of all create a basic template of a server. Okay, so that's what we can do. So let's import Express first. This is how you import here with ES5 require Express. Okay, and then we're going to utilize the Express to create a server. So how we're going to create a server is by calling a function Express. So this is what you can do, create an Express application. This function is do what? At the top level of everything that you're writing, at the top it will create an Express server. We want to utilize its functionality, so we're going to store that inside a variable, this, right? And most of the time app is only used. So now there are two things. First is to create a route, and other thing that you have to first listen also, na? So let's create a route. Now app has all of the method that you can utilize. So it has methods of all the routes that we have studied. You can see, get, listen. Okay, these are the things that you can write. And there is something as use as well. So what is use? Use is middleware. Whenever you want to create a middleware, this is how you can use. Okay, but right now I want to use this get method in order to listen, provide a endpoint. So my endpoint will be the home route, which is the root of this localhost 8000 slash, that's all, right? Write the controller or the router with the request and response, and then call a function. So we have called a function. What you can do, console log, I am Express server. Okay, and then you can return res.send with any string that you can pass. So this is your server. Okay, now there is one thing that you should always keep in mind, that if I'm not writing return here, so what will happen is You are returning a particular response from the server to the client, but you're not ending the function. Okay, you can send multiple response. You can send multiple response from the server to the client, but in order to end the execution, you have to write return. Okay, so that's you have to keep in mind. Now the next thing, I have created a router. Now I'm gonna listen this particular thing. So app dot listen. You can define any port, let's say 8080. Okay, and then you can call a function, and then you can write console.log server is listening on port 8080. Okay, so let's start a server. So how I'm gonna start this server, can anyone tell me? Node app.js, correct. Node app.js. So server is listening on port 8000 that you can do. So if you go to your server, localhost, on 8080 nothing will be present, but I'm searching. So you are not found anything because this is not the place where my server is. This is the place where my server is right now. So now this is your server, you can see. And we have made a get request. Just always remember, once I was doing this, so it has made a get request from this particular input. This is a input. Now this whole thing is a URL. It sends a request, a get request to your server, and then it is returning back the string that we have returned. So here I should also see one more thing inside my console, that this line, I am a Express server. So here you have written a Express server. I'm a Express server, right? So this is how to create a normal server, right? And other things that you can do here, let's try to console and see what is request, what is a request which is coming, right? So let's do one thing, console.log a request. It should be like curiosity that what is inside a request. So let's save it. You won't be able to understand now because it has a lot of things. Just a second, let me hit this URL again, refresh it, and here, okay, here right now we have nothing inside our request. The reason we are making the get request only from the URL, that is the reason. It's nothing. Let's do one more thing. One more practice that you should follow is, instead of writing 8080 here, the way you should write is this way, const port, and it should be of, like, you can give 8000 here, and then you can pass port here. Why you should follow this practice is, whenever you're going to deploy this particular application somewhere, so let's say your port variable you have given as 8000, but let's say on that particular deployment side 8000 is not free. So what they're going to do is, they need to provide a port which is free to them. So you need to, just give me a second. So we can make this as, instead of string, you can change this back to a tilde, let's say, and you can write server is on port, and then you can pass $, and then open the brackets, and then you can pass the variable inside that, right? Port. So now save this. If you save this, run your server again, right? So now you can see this, the server is running on port 8000. From where this 8000 is coming from, this variable. But coming to the previous thing that I was saying, that let's say you deployed your application somewhere on the website, right? On, let's say Heroku is not free right now, but let's say Railway is one of the platform that we want to use for deployment. Let's say 8000 is not free to them. They need to provide another variable to this, another port number to this variable. So how they're going to do that? Because they're not going to come to our this file and then write by themselves and provide a free application. So what they ask us, and this is true for every time you're deploying, that you have to define a variable name. So you can write this way, that process dot env dot port and or. This is what we are doing. So here we are writing an environment variable. So this environment depends whether you are working on your development environment and or your production environment. If you are deploying something, that means that is your production environment. So they will, if they want to provide a variable name at your at their production level, they can do that, right? If they want, they can provide a variable to this particular variable in their environment basically, and then from there this port will have that port number, right? So it's a good practice to write every time with this way. If you can save this and run this again, Node.js, so you will see nothing wrong happens, and this is having no impact right now. Why? We are putting a or sign. If a value is coming from this place, it will take that, and most of the time this will be given by the deployment side. But right now we only have this is not coming, so this is null. We have only this 8,000, so this 8,000 is assigned to this particular place. If we want to recheck, make it 8,001. Control C. Just a second. So here you can see it has been changed to 801. So this is one of the use that you can define. Okay, another thing that I want you guys to remember is a package called NodeMon. Okay, so what is the work of NodeMon? So right now you see that whenever I'm making a change, I need to restart my server again and again. So this is not very useful, like sometimes bit hectic. So let's install npm I NodeMon. So what we can do, we can go to a NodeMon official package. Whenever you want to learn about some packages that you're dealing with, so just write npm NodeMon. npm is the package manager that helps you how to use any of the packages, right? So you can go to the first link. This is npmjs.com, and there all the packages will be provided to you. So you can see the weekly download, around 4 lakhs weekly download of NodeMon is there. So how you can judge that which package you should use and which package should not? So it depends upon the number of user, the number of contributors to that project. So you can go to the GitHub of this particular place and then see, you can see itne dependent. So this particular NodeMon dependence on this many packages, it has this number of versions. So a lot of contributors are contributing to this request, right? So how to use that? Just a second. Okay, it will make you hard to remember things. I will explain in much more easier way. Just give me a second. So now I want another script to start my server, right? So now what I'll do, I will go to my package.json file and I will write, let's say, I am right now working in a development mode. So I will write it as dev, and here I can mention nodemon app.js. app.js. So now what I can do is, just give me a second. If I write here nodemon app.js, yeah, see what happens is, with the help of nodemon, you can start your server. As of now, we were running our file. This place does not have any impact as of now. You can like remove this, and now you guys have seen that once I saved this file, my server restarted. And who is doing that? NodeMon is doing. So NodeMon help you to save you from restarting your server again and again once you are clicking on a save button, right? So this is one of the use cases of NodeMon. But now I want multiple, you can say multiple start script. One of the way you can write nodemon.app.js. Similarly, I have just removed the start script. So if you save, if you make any changes, let's say here, so control S, so you will be able to see that server is starting again, right? So all the runtime environment will be reinitialized and then new values will be given to that. So what I was saying, yeah. Now let's give, because we are in the development mode, so give a script of dev. Let's say dev, and we will write the same thing that we have written while starting the server with nodemon, that is nodemon app.js. Okay, so what is going to happen is, just save this file, Control C. So I have stopped my server. Now I want to run a package, right? So my script will be this, a dev script will be this. So what I have to write is I am going to write npm run dev. This is the command that I'm going to use. Why? By doing this, I am with the help of a package manager, I am asking something to run, right? A script to run. So in my script, it's going to check for anything which similar to dev. So yes, there is dev. So whenever I write npm run dev, so it's gonna start this particular file name with nodemon. So if you remove this nodemon with node, so what will happen is it will start your application with node, right? But I want to start with nodemon. So let's save this and write npm run dev. So you can see my server started again. But if you, let's say, if you want something for production, you can write another script for that. But let's say you can also, it is not conventional, you can give, let's say, start. So if that is there, what you can do is just write just a second, npm run start. So you can do this thing. So once you start your server, so now again the same thing happens. So node package manager is running something from your script which should match with the variable that you're passing here, whether it is a start or dev. I prefer dev, so I'm writing dev. Okay. Okay, just a second. What happened? Yeah, fine. Go here at this particular place. 8,000 here. We won't have anything. We have, I think, 801 is a server. Yeah, I want to show you guys the request part. So once I hit this particular request, I console down this request. So what this request consists of? So if you go here, there are quite a few things. These all are the key value pairs inside my request. So all of this information has been sent from the client side. So here, once I hit this particular URL, this is the whole object of response. So it has a lot of things. Most of the time, any of that is not useful to us. The things which are important to us will be the query section, the URL part, or we can say the body. Of course, the body is important to us. I have just seen the query and the params here. I just forget. Okay, here I think base URL. Base URL means at which, original URL means at which route you are trying to hit. So we are trying to hit at home route. So if you write rec dot original URL, you will get the endpoint, right? These are the params and queries. So we have studied about this yesterday. We're gonna implement this today. Okay, let's try to implement params and query only. Okay. So let's try to make another request. So let's make app dot get, let's say my app. Okay, and I can write a different request for this, and you can write just return from here, just return res dot send, and then you can send a string that this is my app route. Okay, you have hit on this particular route. Let's go to your server, and we're running on 801 now. So let's make it 8,000 only. So let's go to 8,000. I should show you this on Chrome so that we can see the network calls. Because here on Brave, the network calls are hidden because they have a tracker to other people. So they do not track what I am doing, right? So localhost 8,000, right? So just go to the inspect part, network applications. I'm sorry, not applications, on the networks only. Okay. So once you try to hit this particular URL, let's see this local host, this route has been made on the slash, and it was a get request. And what you responded with a message that this is your server, and which we are showing that here. This is your server. So on headers, you can see that what you have passed. Let's try to hit another URL, which is that we have created, that is slash my app, right? So now this another route has been taken place. If you guys can see, the name has been changed. This is my app. So localhost 8000 slash my app. This is the place we are making a request, right? And now what we are getting, they are saying 200. Okay, that okay, we found this request and we responded. We get a response from there. So if you see a response, so this is what you are sending inside the method of response. Response dot send is a method. Okay, always remember, response has a lot of method. One of the method is dot send. We are using that to send a string. So this is my app route, and if you close down this, and here you can see this is my app route, because you are on slash my app, you are not on the home route right now. Okay. Similarly, let's try to, here we are on, let's say my app only, my app पे है ना अभी, तो let's do one thing, let's dig into more into the query part. Just tell me as of now, abhi tak what I have just taught you guys here, we have talked about package.json node modules, we have talked about node mode, we have talked about this start script, right? Also we have included these two routes, right? And this port variable, how we are including this port variable. These are the things that I have taught you guys. Just let me know that is it okay with everyone. इसी को कोई भी डाउट है, प्लीज लेट मी नो. Need a response, guys. Clear, clear. Okay. Everyone, Prachi, Shiva, Devansh, just write yes or no in the chat if you guys have any doubt. Okay, cool, 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 cool. Okay, so now let's move to the next part. Okay, so yeah, the query part, right? So as of now, we are just getting the response from the query. So let's say okay, sorry guys, I'm audible now. Okay, we have one more student, Satya, I guess. Devansh Singh. Okay, just a second. Okay, so just a second. Yeah. So now what we were on the query part. I just want something as a key value pair. So anything, let's say which will come as slash my app after the question mark, right? After the question mark as a key value pair. So let's say there will be a key equals to that value. So I want this to console down. I want to utilize this as a place. So how you can do that? Just write rec.query. Okay. Just save this. And if you go to your Chrome settings, so let's say key. Okay. And just refresh it. Sorry. Question mark key equals to 100. Now press enter. So now the request has been made. So let's see here. You can see here what we have consoled. We have consoled an object. Rec.query, we have consoled an object with a key value pair. So key has this 100 value. I just want to go inside this particular object. So how to deal with if I just want a value of 100? So how you can get that? Can anyone answer me? What should I console down in order to just get this value 100 to be consoled? This is an object. Correct. Rec.query.key. Key is what? Key is the variable name that we are passing, right? Which is 100. So let's save this. Going here again and try to enter again. So if you see here, okay, we are console. Okay, yeah, we have console only 100. So earlier it was an object. Now it is just 100 value, right? So this is how you. Do anyone want to see something? Yeah. So this is how we deals with the query wala part, right? So now what you can think is, let's try to send multiple queries, right? Save this. And let's say this is my key one, right? And you can send with end key two equals to 200, right? Enter this. And here, as you can see, our object, yesterday if you remember sir, पर ये क्या होता है इसमें? Key is the variable name that we are passing, मुकुल. ये देखो, ये key जो था ना, ये हम पास कर रहे थे. This was our variable name from the client side. ठीक है, इसे तुम चेंज कर सकते हो. M1 M2 key 1 key 2 कुछ भी कर लो. तो अब अगर देखोगे यहाँ पे सर्वर पे initially it was key but now it is key 1 and key 2 because यहाँ पे मैंने key 1 and key 2 मेंशन किया है. समझ में आया मुकुल? राइट. सो अभी देखो यहाँ पे वैल्यू आ गई key 1 and key 2. So now what you can do is you can destructure these things because if there are multiple queries you have to bring that out, right? So you can do const, let's say an object key 1 and key 2, right? And just write rec.query. You can write something like that. And then what you can do is console.log key 1 and key 2, key 1 and key 2. Just save this. So what this particular thing is doing, we are destructuring an object. Always remember this was an object, right? In JavaScript, you can destructure an object. So what destructuring means, inside that it will have some key values, right? This is my key 1 and key 2. It has some name. So I want to have a segregation of that and store that inside variables. So what this gonna do is this is also an object and then it will match this key one with this object key one and assign that value 100 to this one. Does not matter on which order you are writing. You can write key 2 and key 1 first. The name should match, right? The name should match, then only it's gonna work, right? So let's go to here, press enter. So you can see the first thing that we console was an object from here, this particular place, that was an object key 1 and key 2 with a value. The second thing that we console down is just key 1 and key 2. So this is another way of doing that. Okay, let's do one more thing. What I want is, let's try to send more than one value for one key only. So we can do that by, I think, 100 with comma and 200. So enter that. So yeah, you can see that for key we pass multiple values, 100 and 200. So both of them are inside a code. So what you can do, split them on the basis of what? Dot split. You can write this is an object, key has a value, so dot key one dot split, and then you can pass comma, I think. So that should work for us. Key one ही है ना, हाँ. So make enter. So अब देखते हैं. So now you can see this is an array. What split do? Split returns an array of strings. So यहाँ पे initially key one की दो values थी. We pick this value by doing rec.query.key one. We got this value, and this was a string. Inside that we have multiple commas. So on the basis of comma, I split that and I just code this down. So now whatever value you want, this is an array, you can write as like 0 or 1. So you'll get that value. This is an array, right? So you can pass multiple values, you can iterate over them. So let's do that thing also. Pass one more value, 300, and enter it. So I think now you should an array with a size of 3, right? Now you can play along with this particular thing, right? So yeah, that was about the query. Anyone have any issue with this query thing? How it is working and all? All clear guys? अभी फिर थोड़ा एक ब्रेक ले लेते हैं. फिर we will carry on with the params and थोड़ा HTML templates वगैरह देखेंगे. That's all. आज ज़्यादा इसमें बस कोड करके देखेंगे multiple things and then we will play along with that. Okay. So I will comment this out. Okay. So अभी हम 9:41 हो रहा है. So I think 55 पे मिलते हैं. ठीक है. Just stay in the meet. Those new students also are there here, Satya and all. So just stay here. We are having a 15 minutes break and we'll meet at 55. Okay.
Hello, sir.
Yeah. Hi, Satya.
Hi, sir. Can you stay in? I have a doubt.
Yeah. Go on.
Sir, I'm actually working for a company.
Mm-hmm.
For the past 2 months, I worked on a website, and this was my personal question actually,
Mm-hmm. Go on.
not related to this, but they asked me to they already have a website in an AWS
Mm-hmm.
and in some server.
Mm-hmm.
They asked me to look after it. So I've made a website as they said, and they
Okay.
want me to replace the earlier website with the website that I did right now.
Okay.
Did you understand my question actually?
By replacement, what do you mean? Like from the production?
Yeah, from the production. They want me to deploy.
Okay. Okay. Fine. Fine. Fine.
Yeah, they asked me to search in a search in web or take help from YouTube, since
So see,
company.
they are a corporate, right?
Yeah, they are a corporate.
They should have like a private GitHub, like corp.github होना चाहिए उन पे, right?
Okay, okay.
मतलब
I
whatever
don't
the
know the actual process. That is why I'm asking you. Is there any? How do I approach this
so
problem that I have
see,
right now?
there are two ways. So what first thing that you can do is जो भी उनका GitHub होगा, right? They are asking you to replace their the website that originally they have, right?
Yes.
तो वहां से अब देखो जो गिटहब पे कोड पड़ा हुआ होता है वो उन्होंने कहीं फेच करके किसी थर्ड पार्टी एप्लीकेशन टूल को देके वहां डिप्लॉय कराया होगा. कुछ हो सकता है डिजिटल ओशन हो या फिर GoDaddy हो, कुछ भी उन्होंने यूज किया है. दे हैव जस्ट डिप्लॉयड इट विद दैट, राइट? सो गिटहब फेच होता है, वो रेपोजिटरी फेच होती है उस पर्टिकुलर प्लेस पे. तो अब तुम्हारे पास दो ऑप्शन है. या तो तुम एक नई रेपोजिटरी क्रिएट करो, उसमें अपना कोड पुश कर दो और उसको उनके अकाउंट से द सेम थिंग दैट ये दे आर यूजिंग फॉर डिप्लॉयमेंट वो वहां पे डिप्लॉय कर दो. तो वो पूछो रिक्वायरमेंट क्या है, इस चीज पे पहले क्लैरिटी लाओ कि क्या एक नया रेपोजिटरी क्रिएट करना है और फिर सेम अकाउंट के साथ जहां पे आपने डिप्लॉय किया वहां पे मैं डिप्लॉय करूं, या फिर जो प्रीवियस कोड था उसको डाउन करके सेम रेपोजिटरी पे तुम अपना कोड पुश कर दो. सो नाउ व्हाट विल हैपन इज एक पाइपलाइन ऑलरेडी बनी हुई है, मतलब एक रेपोजिटरी है, वो रेपोजिटरी ऑलरेडी डिप्लॉयड है कहीं, तुमने उसमें अपना कोड पुश कर दिया तो वो चीज ऑटोमेटिकली वहां पे डिप्लॉयड हो जाएगी। तो ये सेकंड सिनेरियो है। बट इसमें जो केस है वो केस ये हो सकता है कि बाय चांस अगर तुम्हारा कोड फट गया, लेट्स से कुछ चेक्स फट गए या कुछ इनिशियलाइजेशन में कहीं इशू हो गई, कोई प्रैक्टिस अच्छी नहीं थी, तो इसमें क्या होगा, जो डिप्लॉयमेंट साइड होगी वो डाउन हो जाएगा। तो उससे अगर उन्हें कुछ हार्म हो गया, सो दैट इज ऑल्सो वन ऑफ द थिंग। सो जस्ट आस्क देम व्हाट दे वांट, राइट, एंड डू अकॉर्डिंगली।
Okay, like they just like they are asking me to try to. Uh, I'll just read it out. We are using Namecheap servers. Would like you to deploy a website from AWS onto that, like their server name. They have given me their website name, nirveshenterprise.com. So they want me to deploy this as a trial to see, like, you understand it, right? As a
Okay,
trial,
so it's an assignment work, right?
a kind of, yes.
Okay, okay, okay. So they just want to you deploy that, right? So they do not want to like replace anything. So you can create your own account on AWS, right? A
Hmm.
personal developer account, make your
Hmm.
project and just deploy it there with that particular name that they want. I think, but custom domain, if you're asking something for custom domain ना, अगर तुम कहीं पे जैसे deploy करते हो, तो वो खुद का URL provide करते हैं. If you
Hmm.
want something specific, तो वो paid होता है. अब आई एम नॉट श्योर अबाउट द AWS, बट जितना मुझे पता है हेरोकू, नेटलीफाई, रेलवे, एवरीथिंग जो भी होता है वो कस्टम डोमेन के लिए चार्ज करते हैं। सो एक बार देख लो, डिप्लॉय कर दो, नाम तो फिर भी चेंज हो सकता है।
No, no, no. Like, I get it. Like they don't want me to deploy my website in some other place, and they want to see it. They want to deploy my website in their actual production website to see,
व्हाट?
like, their website is not like it's a startup actually. Their website is not like it is live, but not has been used. They are
ओके,
still working on it. They want me to replace that website, which I
विद द
have done
वेबसाइट यू
right
हैव
now.
क्रिएटेड, राइट?
Yes, yes.
तो जस्ट पुश उनके गिटहब जो रेपोजिटरी है उसमें पुश कर दो अपना कोड,
Okay, okay, okay,
तो
okay,
फिर वो जहाँ पे ऑलरेडी डिप्लॉयड है वो वहाँ पे चेंज हो जाएगा।
okay,
मतलब
okay.
यही आइडियल केस होना चाहिए। बट मेक श्योर वन थिंग कि
Hmm.
वट एवर यू आर डिप्लॉइंग, एक बार अपने उसको टेस्ट भी कर लेना, लाइक एक खुद का सर्वर, लाइक एक अपना अकाउंट बना लो, उस पर डिप्लॉय करके देखो अपने उस कोड को, कहीं अपनी एक रेपोजिटरी बना लो और देखो कहीं कोड कहीं फट ना रहो
I
सारे।
did it in Netlify. It is
ओके,
actually working fine.
सो
But
देन यू कैन डू दैट, देन यू कैन डू दैट।
okay, okay, okay,
बस उनके कोड में डायरेक्टली पुश कर दो।
okay, sir. That is my
ओके,
actually doubt.
ओके, बहुत कंफ्यूजन से हम चलो कंक्लूजन पे पहुंच गए, कोई इशू नहीं।
Yeah, sir.
ओके, ग्रेट,
Thank you so much.
वेलकम। Hello. I'm back. I'm audible. Everyone is here. Okay. Okay. Satya, Ganesh. Recording once again. Okay. Nice. Devansh was asking where was my app endpoint made? My connection was launched. This is the new route that we have created, Devansh. The earlier was the home route /home. This was what we have created /my app. So whatever you are hitting from the URL, it's a get request, so it will come inside this, right? So if you just like remove and go here, so this is controlled by the first route, this one, the home route. Now if you just click /my app, this will be handled by this particular route, right? Here nothing got like consoled here, the reason being because अभी हमने query में कुछ pass नहीं किया था, that was the reason. So if you save this again and send few key value pair, for sending that you need like this thing you can pass here and enter, then you can see. Okay, we have removed this thing now. Okay, so basically that was what I was saying कि यहाँ पे अगर करोगे, so at this particular place you will get the console वाला part, right, Devansh? So this is where we are handling this thing. And one more thing that you can see, this is the route, this is the endpoint, and we are sending a request at /myapp ?key and something. This is not included in the endpoint. And if you look here in the inspect, if you go to your networks, I guess, yeah, if you make the request again, you will see that this is the complete URL. If you try to like get a URL, this is the complete URL, my app /this. So we are not creating a route for this. We are just only creating the route for my app. Everything comes after the question marks. That will be the query wala part. So that is that is inside the rec.query.console. So you can do that. Okay. So everything after the question marks will come here. First thing we can write here. Then what will be the endpoint here? The endpoint is this /my app. Yes. Dot query. So hit it again. If you go here again, so you'll see that you get a console. Whatever you have sent, you get a console. Okay, Devansh, you got this. Okay, great. So let's move further. Now, what we can do, we can deal with the params basically. So this is how you can go with the static. These are the static routes. Can we create a dynamic route? Yes, we can. So let's write this. This is for query. And then we can have a params, or you can say dynamic routes. And then the way you write a routes, dynamic route. Okay, one more thing that, okay, that we are only dealing with the get request as of now. The reason being we cannot make a post request from a browser as of now. But from tomorrow, the topic that we're going to deal tomorrow is basically to test every route from the postman and to perform a CRUD operation with the database, right? So tomorrow, a lot of things is going to come into a picture to create a user inside a database, to basically a bit of database, then to try and test all other CRUD operations like post, create, delete, read, all of that, right? And to how we're going to use that with postman, right? But how you can create a route for that. So the post route is created in this way: app dot post, and then let's say my app, and then rec res this. So what it means, here you were having a get request for endpoint. They both have the same endpoint, right? But here the methods are different. It has a method of get, it has a method of post. So they are the two different routes. Always remember this thing. Their methods are different, so they are the different routes. So whatever you do here will not be intersected with this part, right? So you can do anything, console.log that this is my route, or this is my app, this is my post route, right? And then you can res.send. Okay, you can send, all work fine. So this is how you create something like different route. Similarly, you can create app.put, right? App.patch, app.delete, right? This is how you create, but everything that you can do with put, patch, and delete, you can do that with post. So no issues with that, right? So this will be a post route, okay? Also put a return here, and yeah, that's fine. Now coming to the dynamic routing part. So just right here, dynamic routing. Okay, so how you can do that? So similarly, it will be another get request, because right now we are dealing these get requests from the URL. So app.get, how we write a dynamic routing. So let's say slash my app. After that, whatever I send, I'm not going to define that, right? That is something, let's say that is totally variable. We have seen this Zoom value, Zoom meeting call. Here, if you go here, this particular meeting, okay, this is the question mark. I think, yeah, you can see this, what is npm na. If you click on different package, so it will load what is slash a different page. So it is making a different route at different, like it is a dynamic routing. You are clicking on something, it is rendering something, right? So this is a dynamic routing. So what they have done, they have put slash what is slash dot sorry, column, and along with that you can write slash column and then id. So this is how you create a dynamic routing. So what they are doing, whatever the variable things will come here inside this particular picture. So again, just open the brackets, get the rec and res, request and a response, arrow function, that's all. Console dot log, how you can write id, you can do rec dot params. Okay, and then here return that res dot send, this is my dynamic route. Okay, so save this. So now I'm gonna hit this my app only, which I have already created. But after that, let's say let's hide this. I would just want to see what will happen if I do not have something a route with this, right? So it was this my app, let's say slash Karan. Okay, enter this and you'll see cannot make a get request on slash my app slash Karan. The reason being we have not handled that thing, right? So now I'm just gonna open this and save this. Now again refresh this. So now you will see this is my dynamic routing. I will just do one thing, that it will be here and this will be here. Like I think क्या font बहुत छोटा हो रहा है for you guys? Is the font is too small? Okay, ठीक है. So now here on the console you can see everything. That okay, when you did this rec.params, what you get as a id and param. So can you change this? Let's say id1. So save this and you hit this. So now you're getting an object with id1. So whatever you are presenting after the column, that means you're making that a dynamic route. So most of the time you'll get something with id only, right? So now my app is there. After that, I'm changing, instead of Karan, I am changing. Let's do one thing. Instead of sending a static information, I want to send a dynamic information. So I'm sending a tilde, and inside that, this is my current route, current dynamic route. So here I can put a dollar and pass a variable that will be my rec dot params dot id. Okay, save this. So if you refresh this, you will see that Karan here. let's put a star so that we can make a differentiation here. Something. Yeah, you can see this is my current dynamic route. Now, if you change my name to something else, let's say Devansh. Okay. So this route has been handled dynamically. So when we were seeing this part, यहाँ पे कि when we are clicking on everything, this part is changing, right? Google Maps, you can see this up to this part, what is same, and this part has been changing. So they have put a colon here and they are handling accordingly. So now I'm getting, let's say, a username from here. I'm getting a username from here. So that what will happen is I can have a username, then I can search inside a database with the name of this username and then respond it back with all the information that the user want, right? So this is the use of what they are getting. If I like show you the use case of this, I'll explain what is happening with like W3 page. So just a second. They have a client, right? And there's a server and there's a database, right? So they make a first request, they make something like this, that what is slash jQuery, right? This is what they have done. So यहाँ पे रहेगा आपका www something.com, so that slash what is slash jQuery. So this is what they have handled at the backend. This is the URL that they are hitting, but they have handled at the backend. So कैसे handle होगा कि let's say app dot get, ठीक है, and get में this is slash what is रहेगा, and slash this is dynamic, right? So colon and id. This is what they have done. Sorry, it will be finished by this particular thing. This is my database. Yeah, do anyone want to say something? फिर यहाँ पे आप अपना function open कर लो with an arrow function, and then what they are doing is whatever inside this id, whatever the name that we have inside an id, they will bring this, let's say const id will be equals to rec dot params dot id. ठीक है, we have this id. Now what I'm gonna do, from a server I'm gonna make a search query, find query inside my database with this id, with this name, inside a particular schema. Let's say कोई schema होगा बुक्स का या कुछ भी जो जहां पे उन्हें सर्च करना है. सो ऑल द इंफॉर्मेशन विच इज रिलेटेड टू जे क्यूरी वो मैं रिट्रीव करूंगा, and then I'll send it back to the user. So I get a request with id with a dynamic routing, and I found that, let's say you just write model means your database model dot find, and you just pass this id, right? Now let's see here, just look at this what you can say beautiful architecture, that here they are handling almost more than 20 routes. Almost more than 20 routes has been handled by single route. And how? By this way, that this is dynamic, we are getting id dynamic, and we are sending the find the same id. So whatever this id, every time it is going to change the same data, I'm going to find from my database db and going to return it back to the client side, right, to the user. So this is how beautiful things happen if you are a good developer, how you concise thing into one functionality or everything, right? So this is what we are creating. And similarly, let's say one more thing. Okay, how you can break down this thing? Just a second. Yeah. So I just want this const id, and that is going to be rec dot params dot id, because I know what is this column is, right? So instead of this, I can send just id, or you can say name, whatever it is. Just so if you search again, you'll get that particular thing. Change Devansh to anything. If you're writing anything, no matter what you are writing, you'll get that back inside your id. Okay, now this is one level of dynamic routing. पहले ये बताओ, any one of you have any issue with this part? किसी को डायनेमिक राउटिंग में कुछ समझ में आया, मतलब कुछ इश्यू लगा? What are the rules for querying and params? Rules are this only that I have explained. For query, you can write something like after the question mark, there will be key value pair. If you want to send, put a n%. If you for same query, you want to send multiple values, put a comma. And for params, there is no rule. You have to just after the slash what you are sending. If you want, let's say one more thing. Let's remove this and let's say current. Okay. So now you can see my app is present. So I'm handling my app. So the route should hit the my app. But let's say I remove this my app. And if I try to search this, so you'll get an error because that is important. कि वो route important है after that which is dynamic. What can we pass as a parameter? These are our parameters, Jiruni. जो key value pair भेजे, these are parameters. जो यहाँ पे हमने ये भेजा ना params, this is my parameters. Okay. You're passing a string, a values. It could be an object ID. It could be anything, right? That's a use case that what you are sending, but you can send anything. Okay, Shiruni? Or is there something else you're asking? What about operators? Operators are not present here in params. Params may you have to be specific with this forward slash, right? You cannot send and or something, right? If you're sending, that doesn't make any difference. So I'll show you. Let's say I'm sending Karan and Devansh. Okay. So you will see that the same thing has been returned to me. So and or is not worked in this particular, not in dynamic route, in query. So yeah, there is. तो query में तो मैंने दिखाया था ना एंड का और का मैं फिर भी करके दिखा देता हूँ. Let's say my app only. We are trying to hit this particular route, ये वाला route. ठीक है, my query, my app. So let's do one thing, इसको change कर देते हैं dynamic route को from app to let's make it API. ठीक है, save this. So here on my app, I will hit this route and I just want to see the query, right? So for this, you can send question mark, where you can send p equals to 100. And talking about the operators, you can pass AND operator. That if you want to send multiple values, so I'm sending first the key as let's say key 1, and then with AND you can send key 2. So here what n% will do, they are creating two different objects for you. You can pass another object like another key value pair. Let's say key 3 equals to 300, right? 3000. If you try to enter this, you will see on the server side what we have consoled as key 1, key 2 and key 3. We are not getting an AND or something. By AND we have like the Express has helped us in identifying the AND, separate them with the keys value and then return us an object. Understood? एक एंड इक्वल्स टू वर्क करता है, क्वेश्चन मार्क वर्क करता है, कॉमा वर्क करता है इफ फॉर वन वैल्यू. इफ यू वांट टू सेंड more than one values, you can do that. Let's say for key 3 we are sending 300, but let's say 1000 also. So for here you can see for key 3 we can send two values with comma. You can separate that. Okay. Yeah, fine. We were on the dynamic routing wala part. So now my dynamic route is on API. So let's change this route to API. So if you try to hit just API only, so it is not working because it is looking for something after the API as well. So this, and then let's say current, enter, and then you'll see a route. So only API is also not working. You have to provide the params, right? So that is the one thing here, and everything is not working. But this is one level of dynamic routing. But let's say I want to make another level of dynamic routing. So let's say after current, there will be an request that app dot get slash, let's say API slash :id slash profile page, and then after that another dynamic, let's say name, right? So now just give me a second. Rest. So now what I have did is multiple level of dynamic routing I have created. So it was just one level that if I try to hit API, after that I can provide any dynamic routes. But here, let's say with that dynamic route, I get the user ID. Okay. So whatever the user ID I got, then I can redirect that person to the profile page and I'll show his name on the URL. So that's what I'm looking for. So what I can do is you can return res dot send. So here I can write uh, your ID is your ID will be something like this dollar, and this you can pass ID. Okay, and then you can do your ID is this, and your name is name, again dollar, open the brackets, and name, right? So this is not gonna work. The reason being you need to break down these things like const. Uh, okay, just do one thing before doing this thing. I have to show you what we are getting. So first console this down, console.log rec.params. Okay, so now I can write, and then here you can return this line, return res dot send. Let's say multi-level dynamic route. Save this. Now Karan is there, slash profile is going to be same as it is because we have not given any provision for profile to be dynamic. And after that I can give any other thing. So before profile I can give an object ID. So let's say this is my object ID, and then after profile I can give my name. So if you enter this, so you can see I have hit this particular route. So what are the things which are matching? API with API. ID is something which is you can like make it dynamic. After that profile is same, so profile needs to be there, and after that name is there. So if you even make a single change inside this, so let's say I'm just putting one O here. So if you try to enter that, you cannot make a request on this particular place. So because it's need to be same. So again, we were here. So if you see what we are getting here inside this, when we are making a request, so all the params that we are getting, we get there as a console here with an ID and a name, right? So now you can break down these things. So let's write ID and name, and that will be equals to rec.params. Save this down, and instead of sending this is what you can send. I hope it should work. Let's try to render. Yeah, your ID is this and your name is Karan. Let's change the ID. Enter. So now your ID is this, your name is this. Let's change the name. With Karan, we can change some other name. Let's say Lenson. So yeah, you can see your ID is this in here. So this is how we are doing multi-level of dynamic route. So this is multiple level. Other way that you can do is just provide another dynamic route after this only. So let's say this could also be done, right? No issues with this. If you like how many nesting that you want to do, you can. There's no issues with that. But yeah, this should be the way. So just I'll console this part, and I can create another slash dot name. So now just a second, I can copy this thing and I can send this thing, ID and name, and I'm sending. So now instead of writing it this way, you can remove profile, right? You can remove profile, and where we are hitting at API, na? Correct. So if you enter this, we'll get this. So we are getting this from here at this particular place. So this is the both level are dynamic. So you can see we should just give me a second. Your route is, it should be something like this. Your route is this with forward slash. So if I try to enter, your route is this and this, right? So you can make this as a request. So this is my route, and before that you can put an API, right? So it would make more sense. Sorry, I do not save that. Yeah, API, this is my route for here. And similarly for here, you can make that route as this. This, and after that, we have a profile page. So if you try to hit that particular place, you have to write profile here. Profile slash forward slash, and this is the route that we are handling. So at any level, you can do dynamic routing. Here, what are the things which are dynamic? These two things are the dynamic. So between them, you can put something which is static, right? And you can, in continuation also, you can make things dynamic. So here in continuation, we are making the things dynamic. Here we have put a static page here. Here we are just doing one thing as a dynamic routing. So it completely depend upon you, that what you want to pass. And let's say we let's do one more thing. Let's try to include everything together, like queries and parameters. So let's do that thing. Let's handle that part. So I think you can do that here as well, but I do not want to like disturb this. I want you guys to go through this again for the reading part. So let's make an API slash let's say mix. We are mixing things up, and forward ID this rec res. Okay, here I want my ID to be there, means dynamic route. Along with that, I want a query as well. So rec do the console first. Every time that you first write a route, make the console to see that whether the routes are working or not. So rec dot query and console dot log rec dot params, and then return res dot send all okay. As of now, just save it. So now my API will be something like this, that I can send an API slash mix slash, let's say, Karan. Okay, Karan is not there. Let's try to hit. So you will see that we are only consoling. Let's do one thing here. Let's put both of them together, because one thing is not console, because I have not passed any query as of now. Okay, let's try to hit this again. So you can see we are getting only one thing as a console, which is my ID mix. Do I'm sending anything else? Okay, no issues. Now let's try to send something as a key value here. Let's say key equals to 100,000. Let's hit this. And okay, with dynamic route it won't happen, no? Okay, just a second. Karan, and after this, I think you can send a key equals to 100,000. Why we are getting an idea of mix? This is my mix dynamic route. We are not returning this way. We are hitting. I think we are hitting at some different place. We are hitting at this point. That's the issue, I think. Let's hide the above one first, because we are hitting it somewhere else. Let's save this. Cannot make a get request here at mix. And let's save this. All okay. We get the all okay in response, and you can see this should be the first thing that we should see. First is an empty object. The second is an dynamic routing, right? Now let's do one thing. After the question mark, let's pass key equals to 100. Now you can see, along with the dynamic routing, my ID was Karan. As you can see here, after the Karan, I have passed a query. So in dynamic routes also, you can pass the query. So that's completely working fine. We have write a route for up to this place, sorry, up to mix only. After that, everything is completely depending on what you are sending from the client side. So here I've just sent Karan. Karan is a param. Always remember slash something. If something is coming with a slash, that means it is a params, right? So Karan is coming here, and rag.query, whatever the key value that you have sent after the question mark, that is a key value. That's all is working fine. Now just let me know, anyone of you have any issues with this? किसी को डायनेमिक राउटिंग में समझने में कोई दिक्कत? I'll repeat again if you guys want. Okay, great. एक चीज और छोटा सा करके देखते हैं, then we'll move on. Where this being used, देखो कहाँ पे यूज होता है. डायनेमिक राउटिंग कैसे यूज हो रही है, ठीक है. This is the benefit of Devansh to like whatever you want to make things dynamic, you don't want to create multiple routes for that, because things here which are changing, it is dynamic with respect to the client side, with respect to the front end side. ठीक है, बस इस की को लेके हम डायरेक्टली डेटाबेस में रख लेंगे. So instead of I have to make these many routes, I can create one route. So that is the benefit of, and you can say that is the only benefit of this thing, right? Dynamic routing. Okay, and queries कैसे work करती है? So here these are the pages. ये pages हैं, right? So whatever I'm clicking, they are rendering as slash, right? Because I am clicking on that particular page, so page is come something with a slash. Whenever you try to render a page, that's come with a slash. But if you go here, we are not rendering something, right? So they want my object ID, or they want the meeting ID. So how they are sending it, they're sending at post attendee. So there will be a route which is handling slash post attending, and then with a question mark, there this will be the query mn. So rec.query.mn, and then you will get this particular object ID, and then you can directly send, like find this particular object ID inside the database. Whatever the information which is present there, you can send it back to the database. So there are both of the uses. If you want to make a dynamic routing for the pages, then parameters come into a picture. But if you want to send something which is not related to pages, but you want something to be a dynamic, then you can send that into queries. So this is how you should differentiate things, right? Let's do one more thing. Here as of now, we are just only returning strings, right? I just want to return a small HTML template so that I can show you guys. बस template show करना है और कुछ नहीं. Don't get confused. So let's say app.get my HTML. Okay. rec.res. I have opened this. So how you can return this? Basically, in res.send. Just a second. Return res.send. We can pass the string. Just a second. There is an issue. Yeah, so we can send the string, right? But also we can send the tilde, right? This thing. So inside this, you can write an HTML, complete HTML you can write. So let's say HTML, you can end this with HTML / HTML, right? Inside this, the first thing that we have is head, then / head. Then you can have a body. / body. Correct. Yeah. And inside that, you can send anything which is related to an HTML. This could be a form. This could be any labels, any inputs you can send. So let's create one. So let's say this is P. /p my form. Okay. And let's try to just send as of now only p only. So it is on my HTML. If you send this, so you can see I'm getting a form. But if you just open this, like if you go on the inspect part, and we have seen the console of other things that we are getting as a string, right? Sorry, not in memory, in networks. Make a call again, my HTML, go to the response, you can see an HTML page is coming to you. Earlier, if you try to hit something else, let's say /API/Karan, I think it was not the right. My app was there. My app, I guess. Yeah, my app was working. Here you are getting a string. These are the differences. It was a string, now it is a HTML. So inside that HTML, you can do anything that you want. You can make any kind of HTML form, and then you can send that. So my HTML. So my form, then let's say try to send a button. So here we can send a input. Let's say I'm sending just a input. ठीक है, कुछ नेम वेम ज्यादा भी मैं कुछ नहीं कर रहा, जस्ट आई एम जस्ट टेलिंग यू कि व्हाटएवर द JSX सेंड नहीं कर सकते, बट jQuery सेंड कर सकते हैं. I think you guys have heard about jQuery, right? EJS. Have you heard about EJS? EJS is nothing. It is also one of the framework to embed JavaScript into an HTML that you can send. क्योंकि उसमें तुम आप अपना सा नॉर्मल बेसिकली HTML पेज में हमारी वो लग जाती है EJS, तो ऑल द जावास्क्रिप्ट फंक्शनैलिटी यू कैन डू दैट एंड देन यू कैन सेंड दैट. हम वो सब करेंगे, डोंट वरी. हम पूरा एक UI थोड़ा सा बनाएंगे फॉर टू क्रिएट ऑल द टू डू ऐप एंड एवरीथिंग, सो उसमें हम यूज करेंगे, डोंट वरी. So here we will have a input, let's say, and I think that's fine. And after that you can send a button also. So button पे हम लिख सकते हैं type submit. Or let's remove this everything. We can only say that this is a submit button. Okay. /button. So save this. Let's try to hit this again. So now you can see we are getting a form, right? So this is an input and this is a submit button. So whatever the form that you want to create, you can create that and you can send. Okay. All good, guys? समझ में आया how it is working? So now I'm on my server. I'm not on a client side. Always remember this. Whatever the request, you can create a form here, which you can view that as a client side, because for any other person it will be a client side, right? But that is actually your client is on your server. You're returning an HTML form to the browser because browser can read an HTML. But right now you're on localhost 8000. That means you are on browser. So browser is rendering your HTML. What we call this as server side rendering. This is server side rendering. Okay. So let me know if you guys have any issue, any doubt with this thing that we have did today. So you guys were asking for practical things. I was just saying, just wait for a few minutes. We will be there. So these are just now all the GET requests with query and parameters, right? How to use Node-man, how to like initialize your server, everything with that. From tomorrow onward, we're gonna put more focus around the CRUD operations, like every post request, update request, along with the database. A bit of a database will be included. So just let me know if you guys have any issue with this. If it is clear, please write yes in the chat, everyone. This will be the last thing that I'm taking. So great. Okay, guys. So no doubt. So that's all for today. I believe I push this code and I will send you my GitHub link on the WhatsApp itself. So don't worry for that as well. Okay, so that's all I believe that we have for today. Any feedback for today, guys?
माइनस इनिट माइनस वाई लिखते तो सर वो माइनस वाई क्या होता है, उसका कुछ मतलब होता है?
बाय डिफॉल्ट जैसे आप npm init लिखोगे ना, तो वहाँ पे ना फिर नोड में काफी कुछ क्वेश्चंस पूछता है कि आपको नेम क्या रखना है, वर्जन नेम क्या रखना है, एवरीथिंग. सो बाय डूइंग -y वी आर इनिशियलाइजिंग येस टू एवरीथिंग. जो भी आप बाय डिफॉल्ट वैल्यूज दे रहे हो वो रहने दो, एंड जस्ट इनिशियलाइज माय पैकेज डॉट जेसन फाइल. ठीक है.
क्या बोला सर आपने?
देखो जैसे हम npm init लिखते हैं, तो एक पैकेज डॉट जेसन फाइल जब क्रिएट होती है ना, उससे पहले वो हमसे ना कुछ क्वेश्चंस पूछता है कि नेम क्या रखना है, वर्जन क्या रखना है, और कोई गेट रिपोजिटरी इनिशियलाइज करनी है कि नहीं. ये कुछ क्वेश्चंस आते हैं, आप सब पे ना एंटर मार मार के यू कैन लाइक स्किप दैट थिंग्स. कि बाय डिफॉल्ट या तो एम्प्टी रहने दो, या तो कोई वैल्यूज प्रोवाइड करनी है, यू कैन डू दैट. वेन एवर वी डू npm init -y, तो -y का मतलब होता है स्किप ऑल दोस क्वेश्चंस. सबको बाय डिफॉल्ट यस करके स्किप कर दो. ये होता है उस -y का मतलब. ठीक है.
ओके ओके सर, आपने कहाँ से सीखा ये सब?
मैंने कहाँ से सीखा? यार थोड़ा बहुत तो मैंने लाइक
नहीं,
यूट्यूब
क्योंकि
से ही
कोर्सेज में भी ये सब अंदर की बातें नहीं बताता है कोई भी, मतलब यूट्यूब पे अगर देखे तो।
हाँ, वो थोड़ा सा लाइक कंट्रीब्यूशन से आया है. मेजोरिटी मैंने थोड़ा कंट्रीब्यूशन, लाइक जब जिस साल मैंने सीखा था लाइक 2-3 years बैक, तो फिर मैंने कंट्रीब्यूशन किया था, इंटर्नशिप्स वगैरह की थी, बड़े प्रोजेक्ट्स में थोड़ा कंट्रीब्यूट किया था. तो वहाँ से फिर ये सारी इन्फॉर्मेशन थोड़ी ज़्यादा पता चलती है, दैट्स ऑल.
ओके।
तो अब अभी तो करते हैं, जो भी मेरे पास इन्फॉर्मेशन होगा आई ट्राई टू शेयर दैट विद यू गाइस. तो देखते हैं. एंड फॉर टुडे एनी फीडबैक गाइस? ऑल गुड, सब ठीक लगा? कहीं फास्ट कहीं स्लो कुछ भी, let me know. Okay then. Thank you guys, thank you for coming. See you guys tomorrow. Good night, take care.